to Life Over Coffee. My name is Torrie. Take Life Over Coffee. Go away. Okay, I'm going to admit it. I know a lot of things. I do know a lot of things. I do fail at things too. I'm pretty organised. Admittedly, the last 6 months with me being sick, things have got out of hand. And what got out of hand was my pantry. And I admit the fact that what I should have done at the beginning of this preparing stuff, I should have audited my pantry, which I didn't do. And it was pretty shocking. And I thought I had an idea what was in there, but I really didn't have an idea what was in there. And then I had to get in there. So it's an embarrassment, being upfront and honest. You're going to see my pantry, or what was my pantry was like. Okay, I'll talk over a couple of the things that I did, what I shouldn't do. And now it looks a lot better, but oh my God, did I fail it? Number one, crucial thing when you're preparing for the time, this is my buffer pantry. This is, I might be able to live out of it for about a month. But it's my buffer. How can you buff if you don't know? Anyway, let's go on. I'll show you. Okay, today's challenge. I've been dreading this. I've brought in my shopping trolley.
Washing trolley.
To assist with this task. And this bench is pretty clear. I'll move a few things, but the task at hand is the pantry. Oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I've been buying a few extra things. This is why I've got a few bags down here. And I need to sort this out. I need to do an audit. And this might take me just a little bit. So this is the pharmaceutical side. And this is the, God, I'm embarrassed. The herbs and packets and whatever. It works. It does work. But because I've got a few extra things, now I've got to really do a bit of a think about what I've got, how it's going to be organised. Here is tinned stuff, but that can be done better. That definitely can be done a lot better. And well, let me just shut that. And then I've got, bottles and some more cans. And my aim is, I know that I've got some things in here that either I don't use or has got not much left in it. So I am going to move this around, there's not that much left in that. So I'm going to squeeze all of that out and get rid of that container. And I'm going to then put it into, I'm going to do a marinade. I've got to cook, so I'm going to cook with it. So, how do I know what's really here if I really can't see it and know what I'm doing? So it will happen, almost the stock, and God knows what's in these bags. I went shopping over the weekend. Yeah, look, this is not ideal, and this is an embarrassment, and this will be done. So I need to know that. So if we're going to be a bit short on things in a couple of months' time, I need to know, just go and grab what I need. So bear with me.
Let's clear the floor first. Honestly, paper bags are a pain. Notice dog's water is empty. Anything for a distraction, haha. That's the size rice bag I buy. Honestly, his job is so overwhelming. Got 2 of these containers. Still have to sort yet. This pantry is only a meter wide and a standard cupboard depth, but full 3-meter height. So it takes a lot of stuff. Easy for stuff to hide. General product I put into the trolley, but I start to organize groupings of tins and stuff on the stove for repacking later. It's around this point I'm wondering what the hell I have started. Okay, the principle of audit should be centered around what 20 meals do I cook and what ingredients do I need for those meals. Then those items is what future needs will be bought to store. See, I can be organized. This is my Asian food container. Looks like it needs a small stock up. The next principle is out of my 20 meals, what can I substitute if I need to? This is especially important when it comes to substituting fresh animal protein for tins or plant-based product. This is where tined fish and beans come in. Oh my God, I am sure I fell into the habit of, if there is a gap, shove something into it. May as well clean as I go. Yet there's more. Go get the ladder. Due to the height organizing, I have to use a ladder. Okay, remember that there is a difference between use by and best by. Most use by products need refrigeration. Dairy products usually have only a few days leeway if unopened, but Best By is a guideline for the product's option flavors. White plain flour stored correctly can last up to a year safely, but self-raising is less due to its raising agent. Nut flour is like almond 6 months. Best stored in fridge to extend life. The same with gluten-free varieties. You know if it's spoiled if there is a sour or metallic smell, there is a texture change, or signs of insects. Whole products last much longer when stored correctly. Like rice, that's over 2 years. Whole wheat is the same, but brown and black rices, due to the oil content, is best before a year. This is only a guideline. Internet can help. Finished. Well, I don't know where stuff is and the floor is cleared.
So I fast forwarded a lot of that because, and halfway through, I mean, you didn't see me take everything out. Halfway through, I just sort of thought, oh, this is turning into a fast forward frenzy. It literally took me all day to actually do it. But things are in zones now, which is a lot better. And there are 3 containers that are still in there, which I sort of snapshot before, that I still haven't gone through. And they are taking up space, and some of that stuff that's sort of on the shelf packet stuff, I'll be able to put into those containers. Once I've locked it into my head that is where they actually are. Now, the other thing that I found is that now that I've put things into zones, I actually know that I don't need flour. I've got enough flour, not forever, and I will, flour will keep for a couple of years, if it's in a airtight container. At the moment it's still in packets. I will get some airtight containers as time goes on, especially once I open something, I definitely will put it into a container. I have done another little shop since, and so I've topped up on oats because I'm experimenting a lot with oat flour. I'm creating my own oat flour and trying to do one meal a week, which is out of my normal menu range that I would normally tackle. But I'm pretty diversified when it comes to actually doing cooking, and that I can make a lot of different things out of ingredients that I've actually got. But there is a lot of flour there, and maybe possibly maybe I've got too much self-raising, but I can make scones and stuff like that with that. And because I'm going to experiment and making my own butter, that I'll have the whey from the butter, I have the buttermilk, and I thought, well, scones will work with that. That's sort of, anyway, that's my excuse. Plain flour I can use for a number of different things, including making my own pasta. I'm just not sure, and I'm just going to do a bit of research what I should be doing first. Using up my packet stuff that I've got, or first, or doing a mix of both, of making my own and having packet, or or just making. I'm not 100% sure yet. But if I use up the packets that I've got, then I've got more space in there. Now, this was a buffer. This is a buffer. This is not apocalypse. We're going to eat in here. This is not the fact that, in America, they're preparing in a totally different way. Especially the preppers are preparing in a totally different way. They recommend have a mixture of, dried, tinned stuff, because they're looking at maybe in some areas having water supply issues. They're looking at having, power issues, electricity being to them, and they need to stock in a slightly different way. I don't feel that in Australia we will need to do that. Admittedly, that I've got a girlfriend who lives up in the cyclone area, and she does prepare for. She always has on stock, a cyclone food range. She's got a generator, and that keeps her freezers going, and keeps at least one air conditioner going, because it happens in summer and all of that. So we're all zoned, and we all sort of have a rough idea about what we need to prepare for. But for here down in the south, we're going into winter. I don't see. It's more about the fact about pricing and availability, and I can tell you, things are already starting to change a bit, and you really just need to be a little bit of aware of your surroundings when you go shopping. There are some gaps. And we were at the shops on the weekend, and I had my list. Of my bits. I've probably got maybe half a dozen or a dozen items that I'm still to get. Some things I've got ones of extra. Some things I've got like tins. I've got like 6 extra. It's not a lot, but I tell you what, one of this, 4 of that. It all adds up in money, and the other thing, it adds up in space as well. So, as I said, this is a financial buffer pantry, that if I need to make a decision about fuel, then at least not necessarily fuel and food, but fuel and what we normally would get, and it's my buff. It's my buff. I'm not a prepper, but I am learning a few things about prepping, as in, how to make butter. Um, how do you make cottage cheese? And that I want to look at the price of getting the raw product to make a secondary product. Um, is that going to be price comparable? If you're going to be using, a litre of milk or a litre of cream to make butter, and that's going to be costing you, $3, how much butter do I get for a litre? Now, if I'm getting, for $3, I'm getting, a 400 gram block of butter, which is now going $5, $6, $7 for that amount. Well, then, yeah, the effort may be worthwhile to attempt, because you get two products out of it. You get buttermilk and butter. But I need to have space in my freezer in case I'm not going to be using something immediately anyway. So that's a whole story all by itself. So that's the pantry. It looks better. Honestly, it does look better. It may not look better on film, but compared to what it actually was, there's a place for everything, and even for the extra couple of things that I've actually bought the last couple of days. All right, let's go over to the tea and coffee cupboard. The tea and coffee cabinet. It's the cupboard that's above my stove. Now, it's relatively deep. It's not too bad. You'll see. You will see it. You will see it. Oh my God. Oh my God. I knew I needed to go into it, and the reason I needed to go into it because I needed to see what was there, and I did want to separate my normal teas from medicinal and flavored teas. That was that was the main reason I went up there. And I had lots of containers. Now some of the space, when you see it, there was actually empty containers, empty tins, whatever. Well, up we go again. Up the ladder. I'll show you.
Yep, up the ladder again, this time with the box. Pardon the rear end shots. Okay, how much stuff? Most of it was things within boxes and many empty tins. Yeah, a bit of a sucker for a nice tin. First thing first, what do I actually have? And how much? Time to just bite the bullet and tip it all out. More diversity than I thought. Yep, baby, another empty tin. I did at least got to throw out a number of boxes. I can smell something. It was peppermint tea. That is going to have its own tin to contain the odor. I wonder if I could sacrifice a bag or two for the shoe cupboard. Haha. And the morning rolled over to the afternoon, but there was success.
I still got to get one more container. Now some of these are coffee pods that they're too big, and that they go with my old coffee machine that I've got, and I need to put some pods in. Like this is, I want to go square container instead of round because it will fit better. And then baby, it's done. I am audited. Okay, dog. The dog's awake, the man's home. And I'm so pleased that I've done that. Yay, audited. So I have got normal tea, coffee, bits and pieces of coffee, and medicinal tea. And now I am organised. I know exactly what I've got. Yay! Looks so much better. Things I found. Now the let's blame the man in my life. He likes shopping. He likes tasting new things. He thinks he's doing me a little, favour. I saw this. I thought you might like it. Do you know how many sachets, I think that's what they're called, sachets of coffee, chai, cappuccino, chocolate, different brand of coffee, because he uses the sachets, and that's that one part of it. But he thought he might, and I have to say, at one point in time, I was drinking a lot of coffee, and especially when I was sick, I was finding that the sachets were easier to make up especially when you don't have energy. But there's a whole container. You saw the container up there? One of those is full of sachets and sorted sachets. And what am I going to do with them in the future? I have no idea. I think we might be making tiramisu because there is so much coffee up there. But coffee is going to be in short supply, and beggars can't be choosers, and especially if you want to do coffee for desserts or anything like that, that might be a bit of a luxury. So anyway, so in the photo you saw that there was 3 containers, and in one side looked pretty empty. Actually, I got another 3 because when I went in and had a look I needed a whole container just for the sachets. And then I needed another container for pod coffee of the size that I currently have. And then I had a whole selection of coffee pods that were from my old coffee machine. What do I do that? I had boxes of them. It's a hell of a lot of caffeinated. But I'll tell you what I did. I'm just going to put this on pause. I'll be back in a sec. I'm back. So, this is what I've got. What have I done? The coffee pods were larger, much, much larger. So I spent the afternoon emptying the ones that are too big for me, emptying them all out. Now, I was thinking about selling them or giving them away or whatever. But the reality is, I know coffee's going to be an issue. I know it's going to be an issue because we don't make a lot of coffee here in Australia. We have selective, it's not even a brand, the beans and that, we import a lot. So I sort of thought, okay, so I've had a whole heap of the size that I use, and I now got them into one container. But the ones that I emptied out, I had enough pods that, the little greengrocer, when you go into the supermarket and you take the bag to put your bits in when you go and get your fruit and veg. One of those full of a selection of different ones, and so many decaf coffees, unbelievable. Decaf's what I prefer when I drink coffee. And at the moment I'm not drinking coffee because I'm, as you know, I've had a little tummy issue. I get a little bit of pain when we have things that your tummy doesn't like. So I've got one of these. All right, so it's not big. My brother's got one, and his is, I think, about the same size. And you can do short black with it, and it's on the stove situation. Are pretty much what you do with one of these is and this is quite good because this is quite fine. So what I'll do is I will fill that with coffee that I've removed, because the coffee in the pods are quite fine. It's a fine powdery sort of stuff. I'll put that in there, and you put your water part in there. Now it's not very deep, and it probably will be sufficient, definitely, to making a short black. But the other thing that you probably be able to do is I might end up being able to do like half a cup, 3/4 of a cup of coffee, and then be able to make, latte and whatever, because the top part of it isn't that big. So it just percolates up. So I cleaned it up. It's been in the top of my cupboards. It was my mother's. That so and I've got another one that's sort of similar, and I also have plungers as well. Plungers you tend to use a bit more coarser. So out of my shopping, what I've got to try to get is some filtered papers, so when you pour it, it's not going to be grainy. So that is what I'm going to be using. The coffee pod coffee that I end up getting. I've got quite a large bag of decaf. I've got and a couple of other selection of flavours, and they're sort of average sort of size, half bags of them. I also found coffee, the pods, chocolate. So I put that into a bag. So I've got a container now that has got all of that type of added stuff in it. Now it's got to be labelled. That I need to do. I found 3 lots of Milo, which I think I will take out of the tin, even though that's airtight for, what is the word, for space. I will actually get another, probably a plastic container, and put all of the Milo together and have that in one container. And I've also put space up there for teas and that, and I've also got my medicinal teas. I've just got to label it. So, but that section is pretty much full again, but it's not full because it's like full. It's full because all of the containers. I've got my $6 here, $8 there, whatever. I just needed to buy some containers to be organised. So that's the tea coffee. I'm now audited. I now know maybe I might get myself another box of ginger and lemon if they're available at a really cheap at a cheap price, like I got the other packets, because the ginger and lemon on this brand is quite good. So I'll go off to Coles. I'll go and buy that. And overall, the pantry sort of stuff, I've got some vanilla essence to get, I think that's the main thing. And then I need to stock up on a little bit of another container of, vinegar and bicarb and things like that. I don't want to have 10 of them, but I do want to have one above what I normally use. And some things I'll go through weekly and some things I go through monthly. And as you know, I'm preparing for July, when I pretty much think that we will be in a different state. Now, the reason I'm saying I'm going to be in a different state is when we did go off shopping to a supermarket chain, and I don't want to say what it was, but we did go. It's a large one, and we went to look for a particular item that we normally get with our normal shop, and wasn't there in its spot. Anyway, we asked, have you moved it? Because, supermarkets do these things. And they sort of said, oh no. Then they come around and said, oh no, it's empty. So we asked, is it, because they were restocking? And they sort of said, okay, we'll go and have a look out the back. And he said, no, there's none out the back. He said, but we only got half of our order. And we've been notified that the bulk store is starting to notice significant gaps. So here we are, the end of April, 25th, 26th of April, and it is going to, he said, I can see in a month's time, that's when you'll see that it's not, a couple of shops. I know my daughter says that she's gone and there's not been pasta for 3 weeks. So we're going to start seeing some different things sort of happening. But anyway, audit. You need to do it. You need to know. And if you have been buying a little bit, then making sure that you have got what you want. I'm going to show you a photo. I'll end with a photo. And that particular photo is my friend's pantry. And she's written everything down. Everything is written down and it's all labelled. She's so organised. But spending out is not the name of the game. And it has to be stuff that you're going to use. No point in having 5 kilos of red lentils if your family doesn't eat red lentils. So, yeah. This is Live Over Coffee. Hope you had a giggle with me. I'll be back again soon. Bye.
Disclaimer. I wish to acknowledge that this is my approach to the current global situation, and I am supported by like-minded communities. If the conflict stopped today, it would be 6 to 8 weeks before we would see a difference in the fuel flow, but the recovery to our national economy would take a lot longer. England at this point is talking 8 months for economy relief. Let alone how long the rest of the world will take to recover is an uncertain territory. As a small consumer, the words thrown around of recession and depression, I am taking small control of my possible future. Why? Because it is the everyday households who are left to manage the budget impact of circumstances not under our individual control. Yours, Torrie.